Hello, you're listening to Archaeopolitics. What is Archaeopolitics? Let's see. It's a Harry Potter reread podcast focusing on politics in the wizarding world. And as always, I am Adri, one of your hosts, and a recovering English major, here with Helene.
Yes, that's me. I'm Helene, your co-host and producer.
How are you, Helene?
I'm good. The amount of change that my life has gone through in the last 3 weeks. I was just telling one of my friends this earlier today. So, I go to therapy, as all people should. I'm a huge advocate for therapy. And I usually go to see my therapist every other week, bi-weekly, on Friday mornings. And my therapist was out of town last week at our normal time. We were supposed to have therapy last week, but she was on vacation. And so we pushed it. And so it's been 3 weeks since my last therapy appointment, and I have it this Friday. And the amount of change that my life has experienced in those 3 weeks, at my last therapy appointment 3 weeks ago, I did not have a new job that I am starting on Monday. I did not have a new apartment that I'm moving into in the summer. Basically, all this stuff happened so quickly and so recently that when I have my therapy appointment later this week, I'm going to have to start it with girl, my life has completely changed since the last time we talked. Literally everything is different.
Okay. So is what we are learning here that your therapist should go on vacation more often?
I mean, it would have been nice to have her during this time. Not that it was a bad stressful time, but it was an overwhelming stressful time.
Well, but maybe I'm just saying maybe you know how when you stop checking for the election results is when Biden got the confirmed as the
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe she should just go on vacation more often, I guess. Yeah. I just can't wait. I literally cannot wait to see her reaction to all my news on Friday morning.
Yes, that is a very normal want for therapy. I can't wait to see my therapist's reaction and for her to give me an A++ and all the gold stars.
Yes, I mean, I got approved for the apartment that I am moving into this summer today. And I still think that seeing my therapist's reaction to all my life news over the last 3 weeks is going to be the highlight of my week.
Girl, I don't mean to sound for this to sound like an insult, but you still need therapy.
I mean, everyone does. So
I'm concerned that instead of being all these great things are happening to me, this is the highlight of my week. You're you know what the highlight of my week is? The approval and validation I'm going to get from my therapist.
It's not even just her approval. I'm just excited to see how shocked she's going to be. It's just going to be so funny.
Sounds like approval to me.
I mean, everyone seeks validation. We say it at the end of every podcast every week.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a little bit different. We are putting out a product.
Okay, but I gotta say,
you are your therapist product.
Every single person in therapy secretly wants to be their therapist's favorite client. That is just 100% true.
I'm not. I know I'm not. But I try to make my therapist laugh way too often, which I recognize is a inherently toxic trait of mine. But every time I get even a little chuckle, I'm yes, I win. A++. I win therapy.
Right. The goal going to therapy, the goal is to win therapy. So
yeah,
exactly.
Where's my scorecard? I want my scorecard. Does it say A++? Because I don't deserve any less.
Exactly. So that's me. How about you? Are you gonna have a ton of huge life news for your therapist?
Not necessarily, but I do have a story that I don't know if I've shared here on this very podcast before. And if I have, oh well. When I was a child, when I was a wee little babe, I went to daycare because my mom took these like crafting classes to break up the monotony of being a stay-at-home mom. And in these hours that I spent at daycare, or like these days, a few days a week, Adri, was about 3 or 4 years old, or at least 5. I don't even remember. But what I do remember very vividly was that I would not take a nap at all during the entire day. While the other kids were sleeping in their cots, I was glued to the teacher because I had this anxiety that if I fell asleep, my parents would forget to pick me up. Aww. Not sure how that got correlated in my brain, but that's how it worked.
Well, you wouldn't be awake for them like when they picked you up, so you wouldn't remember being picked up.
Helene, you are talking to an adult, but I'm talking about a 4-year-old. It is not how logic makes sense to a 4-year-old, right? Or a 5-year-old, whatever I was, year old. Anyway, fast forward all these years later, and why am I telling you this incredibly boring story? Well, friends, I have reproduced, as many of you know. I have a 1-year-old at home named Olivia, the tiny empress. She started daycare 3 days ago, and guess who is refusing to sleep at daycare? Yes, my child.
She's just like her mama.
Gets it from her mama. So thoughts and prayers for me and my entire family, especially for the awesome daycare teachers who put up with my child not sleeping. She is, I kid you not, screaming the moment I leave her or my husband leaves her, and the moment I pick her up, she screams at me in rage and I'm sure exhaustion. And then I spend the next 4 to 5 hours trying to get her to sleep. And she won't, even after she's well fed, bathed, swaddled. I don't know. I'm trying everything, guys. It's been a rough transition.
Yeah, you would think that if she's refusing to sleep at daycare, that by the time she got home, she'd be really tired and she would just go to bed.
Well, there's such a thing I learned, and people can fast forward this if they haven't already fast forwarded through my entire thing, as being overtired when you are a baby, which makes it harder for babies to go to sleep. So that's what we're suffering from in this household. Aww. Plus teething. Her teeth are erupting from the bottom and the top. Our pediatrician told us on Monday. So it's a really fun time around here.
Goodness. Poor baby girl.
In fact, as you know, Helene, this recording almost didn't happen because she would not stop screaming unless I was holding her. I always tell myself, that this is my brand.
What are you talking about? No, yeah, we made it work. You're a Superwoman. You're Wonder Woman. You have a baby, and you do all the things on top of it.
Yeah, if I could also get in some sleep, that'd be great. Anyway, we're not here to talk about sleep or lack thereof. We're here to talk about chapter 31 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, titled The Battle of Hogwarts. Helene?
Yes, also the one that you read last week. So
yeah, also known as the one that I read last week.
Yes. So, wait, can you pause it for a second? So this is the one where Voldemort gives everyone at Hogwarts the choice to deliver Harry to him before midnight, otherwise the Death Eaters will attack the school. Only Pansy Parkinson seems to think this is a good idea, so everyone braces to fight while Harry still struggles to determine where to find the Ravenclaw's diadem. With Ron and Hermione nowhere to be found, he tracks down the hiding place but runs into a number of old friends on the way who have joined to help the fight. Harry reunites with Ron and Hermione, and they head towards the Room of Requirement, where they are confronted by Draco, Crabbe, and Goyle. Crabbe casts a Fiendfyre curse, and the room goes up in flames, but Harry decides to save Draco and Goyle before they escape with the Diadem, because Crabbe is already dead. That's why I didn't include Crabbe's name. The sixth Horcrux is destroyed, and they start planning their next steps when they run into Fred and Percy. And that's where the series ends. Happy birthday. That's it. We're done. I'm closing it.
Happy birthday.
I don't know. I couldn't think of anything else to say. That's it. Nothing else happens. The series is over. And we're done.
Even though that's kind of an anticlimactic end, I accept it.
Yeah. Okay, no, fine. The group is attacked by Death Eaters and they find Fred's body in the wreckage. Okay, that's it. That's what happens.
Okay. I'm so sorry that you had to go through this once again. Speaking of death, would you mind if I talked about Bipolitic first?
Sure, it sounds like it's going to be a riot, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's the Bipolitics is titled, and this is something I found, actually, Thanatopolitics, which is the politics of death.
Wait, say it again.
Thanatopolitics.
Okay, I never heard of that.
Like, Thanos.
Oh, like Thanos. Oh, like from the like Snappy guy. Snap. Bye half the world.
Yeah, death.
Oh, fun. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So, Thanatopolitics talks about usually like in epidemics or pandemics like AIDS or COVID-19. It talks about how there's some social and economic disadvantages that contribute to higher mortality rates, especially in brown and Black communities. Hundreds of thousands of people dying entirely preventable deaths in populations that become economically acceptable deaths. For example, the elderly and disabled, access to life-saving medical treatments that significantly favor wealthy communities and nations, and so forth. So, when we think about the politics of death or thanatopolitics, I was thinking about not just how much of there's mentions of casualties in the chapter. We have also like the Gray Lady and the Bloody Baron story. Ron trying to save the house elves from dying, the destruction of the tiara, and Crabbe, and also Fred, sob. But we have no idea, like the focus, right, isn't on how many magical creatures have been slaughtered by Voldemort up to this point, how many muggles have been slaughtered by Voldemort and his cronies up to this point, because those would be like the disadvantaged socially and economically communities that become quote unquote acceptable deaths in this war.
Yeah, I mean, it's, what's the word? Despicable. And it's just unfortunately the way that things are and have been, and it's something that we as a society need to seriously look at and fix.
Yeah. But how about you? What was your politic?
Yeah. Mine is not that. Because well, not just because, but because Fred's death was just too sad, and I feel like we've really focused on death a lot in our politics in the last couple of books. I decided to focus on a different part of the chapter for my politic, and I went with the politics of integrity. And integrity is the practice of being honest and showing a consistent and uncompromising adherence to strong moral and ethical principles and values. And so the reason I chose this one, which, might not be clear right away to people who are like, what, this politic, integrity? I don't get it. So basically, the main thing that separates Harry from others in the entire world and in this series, both his allies and his foes, is his integrity. In his position, a lot of other people would not make the choices he makes. And in this specific chapter, that choice was to put his own life in danger to go back and save Draco and Goyle from the fire. Not only his life, he also, like, Ron and Hermione's life too, which, I mean, technically he doesn't have control over that. They could have left because they had their own broom. They could have left and not come back to help. But so he was really only putting his own life in danger. But, you know, Ron and Hermione are with him till the end. So, you know, they're going to stick with him.
They also have integrity.
Well, they really didn't. I was just about to say, they didn't. Ron really didn't want to fucking do it. Ron was very outspoken in this chapter.
I really
about
love that line. It's like, Harry, if you make us die, I'm going to kill you.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I said, but like, that's what separates Harry from not only his foes, like his enemies, Draco, Voldemort, all those bad guys, but it also his integrity separates him from his allies too, his friends. Because Ron was outspoken in the chapter and about being really against going back and trying to save them.
Well, but haven't you ever said something in a moment of like frustration that you don't truly mean like 100%?
Well, yeah, but yes, for sure. But think about it though. If it was Ron's decision, do you think he would have gone back and saved Draco on his own without anybody else like telling him what to? Would he have gone back to save Draco?
I don't know. Maybe he would have. He's a Gryffindor.
I don't think he would have. I mean, I could be wrong. And I'm interested to hear what other people say, but I think that in Harry's position, Ron wouldn't have made the same choice. That's my personal interpretation of the text and what he was doing.
I read it differently. I read it as more of like someone letting off steam and frustration, but like he didn't mean it like 100%.
Well, I mean, I chose it for my quote, so I'll read that part and we can decide.
Okay.
And revisit it. But basically, integrity is the basis of what makes Harry a hero. He is our hero in this series, and I think that this chapter really illustrates why. And he has a basic respect for human life and takes great risks to save someone who not only literally just attacked him and his friends, but also has been doing so consistently for the past 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he just went back to save like any innocent random person, even like a stranger that he didn't know. He went back and saved someone who he actively hates for good reason. But he didn't want him to die. He doesn't want anyone to die except for Voldemort.
And it's only out of necessity, not because he actually wants to murder him.
Exactly. Yeah. We know that this one pure act of selflessness in this chapter does end up saving his life in the end of the book. Mm-hmm. Because by showing Malfoy mercy in this chapter and not leaving him to die, that leads to Narcissa lying for him to Voldemort so that Voldemort believes that he is dead when he's not.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just obviously I do think it played some sort of plot like role, obviously,
Purpose.
Because yeah. So like, I think there's a big reason in the end we see like why they decided to do it that way. But also I just think it was a good show of Harry's character. So that's why I went with integrity.
Okay. All right, so if you don't mind, I'll go with my quote. Okay, so for thanatopolitics, or politics of death, it's just a fun word to say. Then my mother fell ill, fatally ill. In spite of my perfidy, she was desperate to see me one more time. She sent a man who had long loved me, though I spurned his advances, to find me. She knew that he would not rest until he had done so. Harry waited. She drew a deep breath and threw back her head. He tracked me to the forest where I was hiding. When I refused to return with him, he became violent. The Baron was always a hot-tempered man. Furious at my refusal, jealous of my freedom, he stabbed me. So in this one, we have like what is not afforded to people of like the lower classes, which is like a voice even after death, right? So in the wizarding world, like ghosts can tell their own stories of like not just their life but also their death, and that is a sign of like their wizard privilege. And we don't see like stories like this even being told by family members of like muggles or just in the series, so which like just positions wizards as the people in power and whose stories deserve to be told.
Yeah, and I guess we don't know if you know, house elves or, you know, giants or whatever have the choice to become ghosts.
Correct. We don't know that either. So yeah.
We never see a ghost of those of them in the series, but I don't know. Yeah. It's a good one. So my quote for this chapter is, "Harry, let's get out, bellowed Ron, though it was impossible to see where the door was through the black smoke. And then Harry heard a thin, piteous human scream from amidst the terrible commotion, the thunder of devouring flame. It's too dangerous, yelled Ron, but Harry wheeled in the air, his glasses giving his eyes some small protection from the smoke. He raked the firestone below, seeking a sign of life, a limb or face that was not yet charred like wood. And he saw them, Malfoy with his arms around the unconscious Goyle, the pair of them perched on a fragile tower of charred desks, and Harry dived. Malfoy saw him coming and raised an arm, but even as Harry grasped it, he knew at once that it was no good. Goyle was too heavy, and Malfoy's hand, covered in sweat, slid instantly out of Harry's. "If we die for them, I'll kill you, Harry," roared Ron's voice. And, as a great flaming chimera bore down upon them, he and Hermione dragged Goyle onto their broom and rose, rolling and pitching, into the air once more as Malfoy clambered up behind Harry. So, I do believe, like, the part where he says, "If we die for them, I'll kill you, Harry," like, at this point, he, like, doesn't have a choice. Like, he's fucking doing it, and so he says something that, like, obviously supposed to be a little bit of, like, comedic relief in this moment. But I think, like, at the beginning, he's just like, let's just get out. And Harry's like, no, I have to stay behind and see if they survived. Ron is not even thinking about them at all. So that's kind of,
you know, they also tried to murder his like girlfriend.
I know
his new girlfriend.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they tried to murder Harry, one of Harry's closest friends, yes, as well. Like, Hermione is not only Ron's girlfriend, but also Harry's best friend. So, like, and yet, like, that's like the extent of his character. Like, someone who literally just tried to kill them and his friends, and has been antagonizing them and bullying them and being awful to them for the last 7 years. He still didn't want to, like, just leave. He didn't want to assume they were dead, even though it was probably pretty safe to assume that they had already been burned alive.
Well, but also Harry did have the most interaction with Malfoy and learned a little bit more about like how Malfoy found the Room of Requirement and all of that, and heard more of that interaction where Malfoy was like, don't murder him, like whatever, which Ron was not privy to this entire time.
What are you talking about? Everything that Harry knows about Malfoy, Ron also knows.
No, but there was like a conversation earlier on in the chapter when Hermione and Ron were elsewhere looking for the tiara, when Malfoy, Crabbe, and Goyle found Harry alone, that Ron is not privy to.
Yeah, but Malfoy wasn't saying don't kill him because, like, I don't want to kill him. He was saying don't kill him because Voldemort has given us specific orders that he has to be the one to kill him.
No, and I know that, but like that's the same thing that like Snape and all the other Death Eaters say. But it was.
So why
would
that change anything?
Well, wasn't it like the person who died was like Crabbe, right? And he was the one who wanted to like actually murder him. So he knew the other two weren't trying to kill him specifically, but they tried to just kill Hermione, you know?
Yeah.
I just think that there's some context that Ron is missing from that conversation that Harry has that makes it more quote acceptable that Harry would return. If that was Bellatrix Lestrange there in like around surrounded by Fiendfyre, he would have let her rot. Like I have no question about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it might have to do with the fact that while Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle were all, you know, awful and literally just tried to kill him and his friends and have been awful to him their whole lives, they are still children. They are still like not fully in charge of like their role in this war. They are not full adults who are making full adult decisions to kill other people. They are following orders.
Are they considered adults by the Wizarding World though?
I mean, I think they might be of age, but like I still like I don't know, I still find, you know, I mean they're still in school. They're 7th years.
No, I understand what you're saying. So like but I just think that I'm trying to say like,
and I also don't think that they haven't murdered anyone, have they? Like I know they tried to murder Hermione, but they haven't actually murdered anyone, have they?
We don't know that textually.
Yeah, I just like I think there's definitely a difference between Bellatrix Lestrange, who murdered his godfather in cold blood right in front of him, and Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle, who are awful people and, you know, are going to grow up to be awful people most likely and will probably end up killing people, but they're still technically children in school who are not fully like developed.
I mean, I think I'm at like 50-50 Ron would or wouldn't have like returned to like find them, but also like, and part of me is like, yeah, I applaud Harry for not like letting people die, right? But also it's almost like, yeah, you set a fire that you couldn't control to try to like smoke me out and like kill me, and like I'm supposed to like also put myself in the line of fire for you, you know, like I wouldn't, either way, I wouldn't bemoan the decision that anyone takes based on like their level of risk in a situation like that.
I'm not necessarily saying one choice was overall like a better choice than the others. I just mean, I'm just saying that Harry has a basic respect for human life that doesn't seem to be mirrored by his friends, who probably wouldn't have made the same decision in his position. Which isn't necessary given the circumstances, because obviously there's context and there's circumstances and there's like, you know, to take into account the people who this is happening to, the way they got into the situation they got into. Like, I think that there are many valid choices. I don't think that Ron not coming back and saving them necessarily would have been the wrong choice. I'm just saying it's not the choice. Like I don't think he would have made the choice that Harry made. You know what I mean?
Well, but also I'm just trying to like, because there's also like with everything, it's all about the context, right? So it's Harry also has, like you said, that like unwavering respect for life that he's like, even the life of my enemy is sacred to me, even if they're constantly trying to kill me or even if they cost this to themselves or whatever. Mm-hmm. But he's also like, out of the people on the brooms, he's the much better flyer, right? So he probably felt like more comfortable like doing that dive than anyone else would have.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you're making like, you're making all valid points, but the thing is, it just sounds like you're just making excuse after excuse after excuse for Ron, which is fine. I just like,
no, I'm just trying to say like everything is in context. You can't just say like, it's like, oh yeah, how great that someone stood up for like their beliefs and they got like fired over it, when it's like, okay, but then the other person that didn't stand up for their beliefs maybe needed the paycheck more, you know, like everything has like a weight to it. Maybe the other person didn't need the paycheck more, you know?
Okay, so you're just saying you think that Ron and Harry have the same amount of integrity. You just think that...
I'm saying that integrity is relative and depends on context.
Okay.
It's like everything. It's based on your privilege, and it's based on like the situation.
Okay.
Like if you're dealt a really shitty hand and you're trying to do the best you can in that really shitty situation, do you have less integrity than someone who was dealt a much better hand and was able to make lemonade out of lemons?
Are you in this like comparison, are you saying that Harry was dealt a much better hand over Ron in life? What are you saying?
Yes, I am. So in many ways, yes, Ron is like better off than Harry in terms of like, well, he has his parents, right? And he has siblings, and he was born into the wizarding world, and you know, he didn't have to like deal with the Dursleys. But on the other hand, Harry is like basically a trust fund kid in the wizarding world, and he has like natural athletic abilities.
Then that just depends on what you consider like more important. Do you consider family and childhood and like having love growing up more important than money, or do you consider money more important?
Like I was trying to tell you, it's all relative to privilege. Privilege comes in many forms, and different people are dealt different things, and integrity cannot be measured by the same standard across the board. You have to take into account other factors as well.
Okay. And I respect your opinion. I mean, I still stand by what I said. I still think that
it's easy to have integrity with a well-fed belly and like a safety net than it is to have integrity when you're hungry and you have no money in your bank account. Does that make sense?
I mean, to an extent, I still think that people who have less privilege would still have a basic respect for human life in these situations, and even though they might not be as well off as other people, they would still make those sacrifices even if they didn't have all of the backing that other people did.
I think that when we start thinking like that, it might lead down a slope that becomes like, well, then why are they poor then? You know?
No, that's not
what
at all
I'm
what
worried about.
That's not at all what I was trying to say.
Okay.
That has absolutely actually nothing to do with what I just said.
It's what I am trying to tell you is I'm trying to explain to you that you may not mean it that way, but it could be interpreted as sounding that way. That I am trying to tell you that sometimes when we think about like integrity, we cannot, or like, quote, good behavior, we cannot apply it like that, like to a blanket swath of the population like that, without taking into consideration the specific circumstances and aid that is available to a specific person. For instance, let's say in the same situation, like you have two kids that walk into a candy store. One, swipes some candy. The other one just like tastes it. Does the kid who only tasted it like he should have more integrity than the kid who like stole the candy? Well, if you look a little bit deeper, if the person the kid who stole the candy was hungry, doesn't have like resources, doesn't have a safety net, doesn't have like all these things, does that mean he has less integrity than the kid?
I see what you're saying. I just don't think it's that what you're saying is applicable to this situation with Ron.
It isn't though, because we have talked about how like perhaps Ron doesn't have the same like
How does any of what Ron's privilege versus Harry's privilege, how does any of that inform whether or not he would have gone back to save Draco's life?
Draco didn't try to kill Ginny in front of Harry. Do you think he would have gone back to get Draco if he tried to kill Ginny in front of Harry? Really?
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, he tried to kill Hermione in front of Harry, and Hermione is one of Harry's closest friends. So yes, I think that he would have.
It's not the person that he loves above all else.
I don't think that would have mattered. I really don't.
Okay. Then you and I will disagree on this.
Okay.
You come for my person, we're done. There's no there's no bringing you back.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I get it. I mean,
for my person, I hope you're Ron and Hermione.
Just because, what I'm hearing is that you relate with Ron's decision, and that's fine. And I'm not saying that Ron's decision was wrong, and I'm not saying that you were wrong.
Well, first of all, this is all a hypothetical because we don't know. You're making an assumption based on something that never happened, and I'm telling you, if he for some reason decided not to come back, I don't think that that's not having integrity, because in that situation, I would have been like, you're dead to me. And I am not someone who is lacking in integrity, I don't think.
So I picked the word integrity because the definition is that it is showing a consistent and uncompromising adherence to strong moral and ethical principles and values. So in this situation, Harry's strong moral and ethical principles and values is the basic respect for human life, no matter who the person is. And he has a strong and consistent and uncompromising adherence to saving a person, no matter who that person is. Because he has a basic respect for human life. Okay. So if that was your strong moral and ethical principle and value, and you didn't go back, then you wouldn't have a consistent and uncompromising adherence to that. So therefore, you would not have
consistent. So I have a strong and consistent adherence to keeping my person alive over the person who tried to kill them. Yes.
Yeah. So then that would be integrity in. You have a different strong moral and ethical principle and value. It doesn't say that you're strong moral.
I'm all for self-defense, right? Are you is someone who acts in self-defense not lacking in integrity?
I'm sorry. I just want to step back for a second because I'm not saying that saving Draco Malfoy was the best possible decision that could have been made in this. I'm not saying that the best thing that he could have done was save Draco. I'm not saying that at all. So I'm not saying that it's not the right decision to abandon Draco. I feel like we're conflating this a little bit. I'm just saying that Harry has integrity because he has this set of values, and where he has basic respect for human life. He had it with Wormtail. He had it with Dobby. He had it with Grop. He's had it throughout the series. He has a basic respect for life and not human at times life. And he has a strong adherence and consistent and uncompromising adherence to that value. And therefore that is the definition of integrity. So I'm not saying that someone who doesn't have that same exact value as him, therefore doesn't adhere to his values, does not have integrity. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, because that's where I was getting all confused, because it just seemed like that's the argument.
No,
Ron wouldn't have done that, therefore he has no integrity. I was like, what?
No, I just think that he wouldn't have made the same decision that Harry made in that moment, because
Harry are different.
Yeah, and Harry made that decision because he has those values, and Ron doesn't have those values.
I mean, listen, it didn't happen because it's
or he has those values and he didn't adhere to them.
It's not a choice that was really shown to us, honestly. The narrator does not do a thing of this was a choice that Ron had, and he was already out the door.
I mean, he is saying, let's get out. And Harry's like, no, I'm going to stay behind and look for Draco. And he's like, it's too dangerous. Let's get out. And Harry is like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go back and save him. And Ron is like, if we fucking die because of this, I'm going to kill you. Like, I think with those 3 lines, I think it does illustrate what his thought process and what he would have done would be in that situation. Like, I don't think how else they could have illustrated that.
I just think it's like a lot of in like my 36, almost 37 years of life, like I have been the person who has had to make sometimes like really tough calls. And until you're in the position, like, I don't know, perhaps I'm like taking it. I mean,
I feel like you're taking it. I feel like you're taking it a little bit personally, but that's why I define my terms. Well, that's why I put the definition of integrity at the
context. Top. It's also because of the context. You gotta like also understand. Like, I don't think you will disagree that you like shitting on Ron is like one of the things that you do.
Oh, totally. I totally do.
So, like,
that's why I don't believe he would have gone back. But I'm not saying that my opinion is the only right one. Someone. That's why I said if anyone has a different opinion,
it's also that everything depends on context, which is like, okay, maybe he wouldn't have, but like, I don't think it's like that would. There are so many reasons to shit on him, and this is not one of them. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm not necessarily shitting on him. I'm just saying he wouldn't have done the same thing Harry did.
Okay.
Here's what I'm saying. I'll lay it out. What I'm saying, to be clear, is that Harry did a noble thing, which not many people in his position would have done. I probably would not have. I don't know. Actually, I have no idea if I would have done what he did in that position. I know that it would not be unheard of to not do what he did.
You know that you would want to do what he did in that moment.
I would want to, yes, but I don't.
But you don't know that for sure.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, what Harry did was in the way that I view the world. I think it was admirable to go back and save someone, even if that person was a horrible human, but also, very unique to him and his character. And then in terms of Ron, I'm saying that Ron would not have made that decision, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that just because one equals the other, that is a bad thing. Just because Ron might not have made the same decision, Harry has integrity for making that decision because it adheres to his strong moral values. But I'm not saying that Ron doesn't have integrity because he is not adhering to Harry's strong morals and values, because those are not his strong morals and values. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing that Ron did not do what Harry, or would not have done, in my opinion, what Harry did. I'm just saying it's a fact. I don't think Ron would have gone back and saved Draco. And I'm also not saying that saving Draco necessarily would have been the right decision or the decision I would have made.
I mean,
so I'm not saying it's a bad thing that Ron didn't make that decision.
It's only the right decision. It's only the right decision because the author made it so.
Yeah, I mean, it's right. I mean, it's what a hero would do in stories like this. The hero always goes back and does the quote unquote right thing that other people don't have the strength to do. Or whatever. That's just like the narrative that we're given in these stories, in all stories that involve any sort of hero or protagonist.
Well, you're talking about the hero's journey.
Yeah. Whatever it's called. So like in the eyes of fiction and storytelling, what Harry did was the right thing to do. But when we read the book, it is our job to look at it through our own lens and our own experiences in life and decide how we feel about it and interpret it our way. And so while, on the surface, you can look at this chapter and be like, yeah, what Harry did was really great. Then you can also do what we're doing and have a podcast and look at it critically and be like, should he have saved Draco? I don't fucking know. Probably not. But in the end, it saved his life because that's what the author wanted it to do.
Yeah, no, because that was the message.
Exactly. So, I mean, yeah, I guess I probably did not frame all of what I was trying to say correctly at the beginning. I usually do shit on Ron. I do not blame anyone for taking what I was saying as a slight to Ron, because usually it is. And
it's like okay, so it just, I understand where you're coming from. It's just like, I'm just like, if this is like shit on Ron, like this ain't it for me. Like,
I get it.
There are so many other reasons to do it, and this is not it.
Yeah, no, I was just stating. I was just trying to state the facts. I'm just trying to state the facts of like, this is what Harry did. I don't think that this is what Ron would do.
Like, I'm usually pretty game for it, but like, this would not have been it for me.
I get it.
All right, so let's go. Let me move on quickly to the politics of it all, and talk about the character that I think frames this politic. And my character is the Grey Lady, because she continues, and all the ghosts at Hogwarts and the Wizarding World, who continue to have voices and even careers, looking at you, Professor Benz, after death.
Okay. My name is Harry. Not surprising. Because like you said,
you've already done your dissertation on this. Yeah. Yes.
Like you said, he has the hero's journey in this. Like, we're meant to believe that he did the heroic thing here. But you make your own decisions. You guys decide. What do you think? Was this heroic or was it dumb?
I mean, I think it is perhaps a dumb plot point, but we'll get to that when we get to our Dementors and chocolate. How do we see each other's politics in the series? Well, integrity. You know who doesn't have a lot of integrity sometimes is Albus Dumbledore. He really tries, though. He's tried. But in this book, in this final book, we see the cracks of that foundation.
He was a big flip-flopper, especially in his youth.
Yeah. And also, how does that fit into putting a child in literal harm's way for 7 years? Not including living with the Dursleys.
Right.
Are his moral values aligned with putting children in danger? Don't know. Yeah.
I think that's a good example.
But maybe he did it for the quote greater good, which is also the slogan of his ex's fascistic regime.
Right. Like, the reason I think the lack of integrity for Dumbledore is probably fitting is just because his strong moral and ethical values have kind of changed a few times, as we have seen throughout the story.
Well, and talking about Harry's integrity and his commitment to being Captain Save-A-Ho, it just from the start he's trying to out-hero everyone around him. Everyone calls him out for having a hero complex, I believe in book 5. You can really see it blossom in the Triwizard Tournament when he goes stays underwater until everyone is rescued, because he thinks the Mare people are going to devour the hostages.
Right. So that's a really good example of him, doing this kind of shit, pulling this shit.
Even and and Dumbledore asked him calmly, "Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" He's like, "No, sir, no, I did not, because I have unwavering integrity." And he's just Captain Save-A-Ho.
And again in book 5, where he goes to try and save Sirius
for Arthur. Wasn't it Arthur?
I was thinking for Sirius when Voldemort put the thing in the vision in his head that Sirius was in the Department of Mysteries, and that's why they went.
No, wasn't it Arthur?
No, at the very end when Dumbledore's army went to the big battle in the Department of Mysteries, he thought it was because Voldemort had Sirius.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I have to go save him. And they even call him out. Like, I think Hermione or Luna or somebody calls him out and is like, Harry, like, you're doing the thing where you feel like you have to save everybody, and like this could be a trap, and you're literally potentially walking into a trap because you feel like you have to save people.
I mean, losing Cedric in front of his eyes was like a big deal for him. Like, that's some big trauma. And then losing Sirius the next fucking year, that also impacted, I'm sure, how he views like the sanctity of life, you know, going back to context.
Yeah, and it's obvious how he views life, just like with how he treats Dobby. Like a lot of other wizards would not have, you know, held Dobby's life to such high standards, and Harry cared about Dobby and buried him manual labor because he had respect for his life. And it's just Harry being Harry.
Wait, did he respect Griphook's life, or am I just missing out on that?
That was a messy part. Well, I mean, it's not that he disrespected his life. He mainly, like, he was okay with tricking him, but I don't think that he would have like wanted to like let him die or do something to put him in like physical harm.
I mean, Griphook put himself in physical harm, but so did Draco. So I'm just trying to
I don't think he had basic respect for Griphook as a person, but
but yes to Draco. Okay, that is so odd to me. I know. Whatever.
I mean, really, honestly, this whole chapter feeds Drarry shippers like no other. Basically, like, I mean, if we want to be like petty about it, he saved Draco's life because he's in love with him. Sure, why not?
Okay, whatever. He likes blondes instead of redheads.
Yes.
Oh, Harry. All right.
Well, the politics of Thanato politics, is that how you say it?
Thanato politics.
Yep, there you go. I mean, so it's like, I'm trying to remember what your definition of Thanato politics was.
Okay, so it's the social and economic disadvantage that contribute to higher mortality rates, especially in brown and black communities, as acceptable.
Okay. Oh goodness.
In the wizarding world, right? As
I'm thinking of like
as
house
we're framing it.
Yeah.
As we frame it, like all magical creatures and muggles, like and muggles who are under magical creatures to a degree, right? Would be the avatar for black and brown people, I think.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we don't see a lot of those.
I think that the fact that the series focuses so much on the wizarding world but does not include even magical creatures a lot in a lot of its description of what happens, or its impact in the real world of like the muggles, right? Quote unquote, is a big example of that politic in action.
Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. Yeah, I mean, we do see like the respect for life for muggles just being lower when it comes to like Death Eater attacks, you know. Things like the
Quidditch World Cup.
Yeah, I was just thinking the Quidditch World Cup when they were like torturing those muggles. The Death Eaters were in front of everybody. Yeah. For sure. But I'm at a loss for others, so.
Well, the fact that house elves are still a thing.
Well, yeah, that was my first thought, was like just the house elf situation in general. It's just different because they're not technically like there's not like a genocide or like them dying in numbers. It's more just like they're exploited, which I think still fits in your politics.
Enslaved.
Yeah.
Lupin being a werewolf.
Yeah, it's just because it's literally the politics of death. I'm thinking like death probably has to be.
Well, because because Thanato politics also includes pandemics and epidemics like AIDS. So like there's like acceptable transmission of the disease type, like
got it.
Seeing that as like a casualty of they don't.
Yeah,
they
and then
don't really
and then
matter
just
as
treating
much.
them like second-class citizens for something they can't control,
and
for sure. Yeah.
and like bar them from like entry into like respectable quote unquote society again,
Right.
which makes them embrace death even more, you know?
Right. No, that makes sense for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So that's that. Let's, after that lovely discussion that was so upbeat, let's talk about what we hated and then what we liked in this chapter, aka Dementors and Chocolate. Whew. Helene, what was your Dementor this chapter? I have a and A dot Roman numeral 1.
Well, I'm pretty sure that, I am sure because we briefly discussed this off mic before recording. One of your 2 is the same as mine. And I would be remiss not to list this as my Dementor, but it has to be Fred's death. It is one of the, if not the most, like, difficult death in the series.
It is also like one of the most sudden ones. I can't.
And it's hard. It's tough because this is a character, like, one, you don't expect it to happen to a character like Fred. But also the author really like skates right over it. It is like a couple sentences, and one in this chapter, and maybe like 2 or 3 in like the next chapters. It is not dwelled upon, and it is something that I think fans have taken with them and like really like hurt from for a really long time.
Okay, I will tell you I probably obviously am not the only one. The deaths that have impacted me the most from the series, in no particular order, have been Fred, Hedwig, Dobby, Albus, Dumbledore, obviously, and Sirius Black.
Not Albus Dumbledore, the cat version? No,
because he's still alive.
Yeah, very much alive.
I know this.
Sorry, what was the last one?
Cedric, Sirius Black, and then Cedric Diggory.
Cedric, okay.
But there's just something about this death. Like, there was like very little, like, basically leading up to that like conclusion. That you're right. She just skates by it, kind of like a Hedwig death. Like you'd never expected it.
The Hedwig death, she skates by even more, like, faster than Fred's.
Dobby, obviously, like, you knew he was in harm's way the moment he like walked back into Malfoy Manor. Like,
right.
It was the place he escaped.
Yeah.
Not saying he deserved to die. Absolutely not. But like, he faced off Bellatrix, which, she's a dirty, dirty whore. So
yes, I getcha. Yeah, I mean, Fred is up there for me. Hedwig, and Dumbledore are probably like my top. But Fred is up there.
Yeah, but like, I mean, don't get me wrong. When Dumbledore died, I closed the book and I wept. Like a lot. Yeah. But the entire book was leading up to his death.
Right. It wasn't the hardest death. It just hit me hard.
Yeah. No, it just hit us hard because, he's grandpa,
Yeah.
And also hot Jude Law.
Right, exactly. So what was your other Dementor that was not Fred's death?
Okay, the not Fred's death. It is a small plot hole that I called...
plot hole in Harry Potter?
Yes. What? Fiendfyre. Hermione says, "Oh, it must have been Fiendfyre. That is something that can destroy Horcruxes. I read about it, but I never wanted to try it because it's difficult to control." Hermione, when have you told us this? Before this?
I know, it was very convenient. It was like,
you have never mentioned this. We could have been making a lot of, like, instead of having to carry that fucking locket the entire fucking time, you could have made an experiment, controlled in a very controlled environment, made a bubble, shield around it to destroy the Horcrux. You could have done something, but you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Fiendfyre was literally created just for this chapter.
Oh, no. Yeah. First of all, yes. And two,
it wasn't
because
even...
the author wanted a different way to, like, kill over the Horcruxes.
Oh, yeah, to be honest, like, it didn't even need to be Fiendfyre. This could have just been a normal fire, because he escapes with the diadem on
with
his...
the tiara.
Yeah, on his wrist.
Diadem.
He gets out of the room of requirement with it on its wrist, with it on his wrist,
and he could have just all those basilisk things.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
They could have easily just. I for a second because I couldn't remember exactly if he escaped with it or not, and when I saw he was escaping with it, I like remembered. I was like, oh, well then, yeah, he must like destroy it as soon as he gets out of the thing, and I forgot that this even fucking happened, that the Fiendfyre destroyed Horcruxes. It was so unnecessary.
I would have had way more respect for this scene as a scene if this had been like rattled off earlier in the book as one of the like things that can destroy Horcruxes by Hermione. It could be this or this, like that's all it needed to be.
Yeah.
I feel like someone was on a deadline to publish this and did not do their due diligence and putting those Easter eggs back.
And then tried to bring it back. Didn't she bring it back in Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald?
I think so. Yeah. Ugh.
I don't think it really played a significant role, but
it's cursed fire, Helene. Yeah. Also, anyway. Very conveniently a thing that can destroy Horcruxes. Okay, sure, Jan.
Yeah.
But we've never heard about it before. Okay.
Right, exactly.
All right, let's move on from like those things that make our blood pressure rise to the ones that like bring it back down. Chocolate. Easter is over.
It is.
And so our Cadbury eggs, I just bought some at 50% off at Walgreens.
I tried to, but they were out. I was really sad.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you. They had a lot where I went, so I got lucky. What was your chocolate, Helene?
So my chocolate was, there was a line near the beginning of the chapter that alludes to the fact that Harry doesn't function as well without Ron and Hermione there, because as I mentioned in the summary, a good portion of the beginning of the chapter, Ron and Hermione are nowhere to be found. He's like asking around. Mm-hmm. He's like, have you seen Ron and Hermione? Does anyone know where Ron and Hermione are? He can't find them on the map. He's like, I have no idea where they are. He's like, well, shit. Like, I still got to find this diadem. Like, why aren't they here? And
they said something about a bathroom? What?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I didn't write the line down, but it was basically something along the lines of like, he felt lost without them a little bit. And he's like, I don't know where to go from here. Like, I need my Ron and Hermione. And it just kind of pulled my heartstrings a little bit. It shows that they're better as a team, and they always have been. And he feels lost without them. And even though he's very capable, like as a human being, and probably could figure most of this shit out, like by himself, he just doesn't. That doesn't negate the fact that he wants their support and he wants them to be there to help.
Well, sometimes you can be the most capable person in the room, but be without your support system there to like balance you out.
Yeah,
you can burn yourself out.
Yeah, so it's not like him saying that he's like useless without them. And I liked that because they could have put it that way, like, oh, I'm just so useless sack of shit without my Ron and Hermione. But no, it's just like, oh, I kind of wish they were here. Like, oh.
So I have like 3 tiny chocolates, dribbles, if you will. Ron wanting to save the house elves.
Yeah.
Super cute.
Yeah, that was cute.
Ron saying like, if it's not now, then when? Basically, after Harry's like, guys, there's a war going on and you're making out. And he's like, yeah, I know. If not now, when?
Yeah, like we could be dead.
We could be done tomorrow,
Yeah.
seize the day. And the fact that he opened the Chamber of Secrets by phonetically imitating Harry's parcel tongue.
That wasn't the first time either. He's learned parcel tongue.
He hasn't really learned parcel tongue. He's just copying it. Like, you know how, I don't know if you remember this, but like Christina Aguilera had a Spanish album, which was like a Spanish version of all her songs from her first album, but in Spanish. Because they were trying to break into the Spanish market. I don't know if you knew this. Like, this was like in 2004.
I vaguely was Genie in a Bottle on that? Because I feel like I vaguely have heard, like, remember a Genie in the Bottle in Spanish.
Yeah, there's like an entirely different album. It was red with like silver polka dots, and it was completely in Spanish. I had both. I had the English version and the Spanish version because I was diehard like that. Anyway, she famously does not know Spanish. So basically she learned the lyrics basically phonetically so she could sing them.
This is exactly what I and countless young Jewish children do when they are 12, 13 years old and have to read a Torah portion without vowels, because the Torah itself uses Hebrew without vowels, which is not how we learn how to read Hebrew in Hebrew school, in front of all of your closest family and friends. That is basically what you look at it, you learn it with vowels, and then you have no idea what any of it means. You're just like, this is what the Hebrew is. And then you just memorize it and you say it in front of everybody without vowels. Mm-hmm. So I get it. That makes sense to me. That tracks.
Okay, so also I saw this reel the other day of like a best man giving a speech in Portuguese because the bride was Portuguese, and the maid of honor helped him, quote unquote, with this Portuguese speech. And it was like all sorts of nonsense, and everyone was laughing at the best man. Everyone who understood Portuguese, that is. And like he stops in like 3 lines and he's like, this is a bunch of bullshit, isn't it? And everyone's like, yeah. And I was like, it's that feeling.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
I love it. Love it for me. Love it for everyone.
So all your chocolate was Ron themed this chapter.
I have a soft spot for the man. Like, he is not great. He has terrible qualities. Yeah, don't we all?
I mean, we all like flawed characters. I like Dumbledore, for God's sake. Like, Dumbledore is like in this chapter.
In this chapter, it was really hard for me to be like, yeah, but he's a trash human being, right? Like, I was just like, he was cute in this chapter. Yeah, other chapters, I want to throttle him.
He did have a lot of cute moments. And if I wasn't such a Harry stan, I probably would have listed one of those cute moments.
Okay, let's be real here. Like, the real enemy here is the author.
Yeah, agreed.
Because if the plot hole about Fiendfyre hadn't, like, been in this, then they wouldn't have had to like carry the locket, which caused all that rift between them.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
And he wouldn't have left them. So guess what? It's the author's fault for making it so, because he needed them to be separated.
Yeah. Yeah.
For some mysterious reason. Oh, the reason was for Ron to find out about like the Deluminator radio show.
Oh, and the Deluminator. Yeah, everything happens for a reason, I guess, right?
And the reason sometimes is that the author is lazy. Anyhow.
Agreed.
Is that it? We're done?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's cool down. Let's do our cool down and talk about the media that we have been consuming. What have you been consuming, Helene?
More Ted Lasso, because we are like deep in season 3, new episodes weekly.
Please don't spoil it for me because I have not watched any yet.
Okay, you still haven't watched any of season 3 yet? Oh, girl, you got to get on it.
My mother-in-law was here and she was, how do I phrase it? Controlling the entirety of my TV. So,
but you haven't watched any because we're like at 5 episodes in.
No, at first I wanted to kind of binge like when I had like 3 going, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I like to do it. But then she was here for the last 2 weeks and I couldn't.
Okay. Well,
It was poor planning on my part,
yeah,
you know?
I am absolutely loving season 3. I won't spoil anything. Um, there's one storyline that like I have complicated feelings about. And I'm kind of starting to get panicky because I know that this is the last season and I know that they don't have a lot of time left. And I know that there are very specific plot points that I fully expect them to circle back to. And I just am worried that they're not going to have enough time to flesh out the story the way that it really deserves to be fleshed out with the amount of time we have left. So I'm pretty scared about how rushed the end is going to feel, or if it's even going to end on a note that I am happy with and the majority of Ted Lasso fans would be happy with, on multiple fronts, multiple storylines. So I'm trying to have faith. I'm trying to, as Ted would say, believe. But yeah, I'm loving it. It's great. And then I started, as you know, because I've been texting you about it, I started my 3rd Emily Henry book last night.
Which was her first book in this new like it was the first book she published in this like romance in like adult genre rom-com.
Oh wait, so what did it go? Beach read, people we meet on vacation, then book lovers?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I thought people we meet on vacation was the first one, but I guess I was wrong.
No, I think I told you to read that one first because I knew for sure you were gonna like it.
Oh yeah, well that was a good decision. Thank you, thank you for the advice. So I started Beach Read, which is my 3rd Emily Henry, but as you pointed out, her first in this like genre, and I'm hoping, because usually when I start a book, I can finish it. Like if I'm really into it, I can finish it pretty quickly. And I'm hoping that's the case here because her new book, Happy Place, comes out in a week. So, or I think it's a week. It's like April 24th or 25th, somewhere in that time frame. So
the 25th, I think. I am so excited about this.
I know. We both already pre-ordered it. We talked about that. And the second it comes on my Kindle, I'm like so ready. I'm so excited.
And also, have you looked at flights for July 21st?
For the Barbie movie? You know, I mean, I should. Of course, now that I'm starting a brand new job on Monday, I won't have a lot of vacation time to play with. But I also think
you can work from wherever. I am probably not going to take vacation time anyway. So we're both going to be working on location.
True. But now that we know that all 3 Emily Henry books are being adapted to film, I know for certain that we're going to have to go and see at least one of those 3 together.
Oh, for sure. Either people we meet on vacation or book lovers is my like choice.
Yes. I mean, same. I mean, I haven't finished Beach Read yet, so I don't have an opinion yet.
I really love to Beach Read. It's just that book lovers will forever remain in my heart as my favorite one, unless Happy Place somehow dethrones it. Which I wouldn't be surprised, right? But it would have to like meet very specific criteria, I think.
Happy Place, like the plot is supposed to be sort of like kind of like Christina Lauren's The Unhoneymooners, right?
Like, which I love.
Fake relationship.
Also, that's getting a sequel?
I saw that. Yeah, oh yeah, I sent that to you. Yes.
We are living, guys, in an era that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, like we're thriving. The whole human race is thriving right now.
Don't fuck it up, guys. Don't fuck it up.
Please.
I need this. I need this in my life. What have I been doing? I've been reading a lot of articles about how to make babies go to sleep, as if I haven't read them all already by this point. But I'm like, maybe I missed something, you know, like, did I miss something the first 1,000 times I've read this over the last year? Turns out I hadn't, and I just have a very temperamental baby. What else? Oh, I'm listening to this book as I fall asleep at night. That is like a, one of your typical rom-coms that I love, and it's called The Runaway Groomsman. And has sassy characters, which I always love, but the groomsman, he's like the best man at his ex-girlfriend's wedding. His ex-girlfriend is marrying his best friend.
Oh, shit.
Who she cheated on with him. You know, like she cheated on the best man with this best friend of his.
And now they're getting married.
They're getting married. She is the star of his, like, you know, Netflix equivalent of rom-com, because he's a rom-com screenwriter. And the best man also stars in these movies, you know. So the
this
network,
is like a telenovela. Goodness.
Yes, I love it. The streaming service. This is just the opening, guys, and the streaming service made him like be okay with their relationship for, you know, money reasons, because corporate America knows no bounds. Anyway,
Wow.
Hollywood is trash, basically. And so he basically flips them off. This is chapter 1. I'm not giving a lot away. Flips them off at their wedding and runs away. So obviously called Runaway Groomsman. He keeps driving up to like this like quaint small town in California. And, you know, things ensue. It's chef's kiss. I haven't finished it yet, but I've laughed so many times.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It sounds very, very intriguing, I will say.
Well, you know me, I do like a telenovela.
True. Yes. I mean, I like a good telenovela from time to time too. I mean, I love Jane the Virgin.
Well, listeners, I don't know, maybe this is too inside baseball, but I just sent Helene Act 1 of my novel. So I am 25% complete on my novel, you know, first draft. And I'm very excited. Now she's going to be like, this is too much telenovela for me. Goodbye.
Oh, is yours, you think yours is like a telenovela too?
I think it has, you know, my flair for the dramatique, maybe.
Dramatique.
Like maybe escándalo, you know, like a little bit too much. I don't know. You tell me. You'll tell me.
Sure will.
Well, I hope it makes you laugh. Like that is my goal in life for my friends and my therapist. Can I make them laugh? That's all I want from life.
Well, you make me laugh when we're recording, so I feel like it'll be easy to do that with your book.
Unless I'm defending Ron, in which case you're laughing bitterly, but it's okay. I love you.
I'm laughing at how ridiculous your defenses of Ron are. That's what I'm laughing at.
Oh, I'm laughing at how cute you think you are. Bye.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. All right. So that's it for today's episode. Well, that's it for today's episode. Please join us next time as we cover chapter 32 of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, titled The Elder Wand. Oh my God. I wonder what this one's about.
We're getting so close to the end.
Are we, though?
I mean, there's only 37 chapters in this book, so yeah.
37 or 36?
I think with the epilogue it's 37.
Oh, okay. Then, okay. Whatever. We're almost done. Maybe we have, like, senioritis. Or maybe I do. I'm just like,
I mean, you've been doing this for much longer than I have. I will give you that. You've been doing this for quite a long time.
Yeah, but I'm just like, let's just keep it loosey-goosey. It is what it is. If you've made it this far, congratulations.
Yeah. Sticking it out with us. 5 more chapters to go. 6 more, including chapter 32. I think it's 6. Anyway, math.
Math is hard.
Yeah. If you've enjoyed this rarely, like rare, but somewhat heated conversation. We don't usually get this heated.
Controversial.
Yeah, we don't usually get this this heated on this podcast. Just before, but I'll just say, guys, Adrian and I still besties. We're still good. Don't worry about it. Like we disagree, but we love each other. I love her.
Are you trying to convince yourself?
I'm trying to convince people because we don't fight that often on here. So, like,
oh yeah, we keep most of our fights off mic.
Yeah, just like we disagree from time to time, but like it got kind of heated, and I just want people to know we're good. Don't worry, we love each other very much.
Look, part of being really good friends with someone is being able to say like, hey, what you're saying here sounds a lot like this argument that people use to be shitty, and I don't want you to ever fall into that trap, please.
Yes.
And then the other part is like, Adrian, you're being stupid. Like, that's not what I meant at all. And I'm like, okay, yeah,
or,
maybe I'm being stupid. So what?
Or like, I see where you're coming from, but you might be taking it a little personally. That's okay. Just.
And it's okay.
Yes.
I understand that I am a lot. I'm intense, and I do take things personally. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Sue me.
And I am very much ignorant sometimes. So it is helpful to have someone to check me on that. But yes, if you've enjoyed this somewhat heated but very entertaining, I think, conversation.
Spicy conversation.
Yes, this spicy conversation. Please take a second to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to our beautiful voices in your ears right now, because it helps new listeners find our podcast. And like we said at the beginning of the pod, validation. I want my therapist to like me best, and I want all of you guys to like me best too.
What if, Helene, your therapist gives us 5 stars?
I think I would have heard by now if she listened to this podcast.
No, but isn't that like peak validation?
Oh my God, yeah.
You?
Well, yeah, I could in my therapy session on Friday, I could be like, hey, can you just like drop a 5-star review on this random podcast? I have nothing to do with this podcast. Just drop a 5-star review.
I have no skin in this game. Like, would you feel like you won both therapy and life?
Imagine if your therapist listened to our podcast. And it's like you start your session, and they're like,
she doesn't like Harry Potter.
She's like, and you start your session. She's like, I wanted to discuss something that I wanted to dig deeper into something you said on Accupolitics this week. It concerned me.
Yeah, well, she'd probably be like, and here's the bill for like the extra hour that I heard you talk.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know if that's how that works, like, but I see what you mean.
I'm just thinking like, why would she do all that work for free? I don't think she would listen to our podcast.
Unless they liked it.
She already hears plenty of me.
Right.
Like, she doesn't need more.
Agreed. Yes. Same.
I mean, the only other person in my life who's ever been like, I want more of this person has been my husband. Like, everyone else is like, please say less.
That's not true.
It kind of is. Ask my mother. Anyway, until then, politics manage.
Support this show by going to patreon.com/Accupolitics. Our patrons keep this show going. You can find us online at Accupolitics.com, and we are at Accupolitics on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us your thoughts at info@Accupolitics.com. Leave us a voicemail at 915-996-1699. And you might just hear yourself on the podcast. Adriana Wilson is the founder and creative director of the podcast. Helene Karp is the producer and social media manager. Allison Pullman is the audio wizard and editor who makes us sound so good. Cover art and physical rewards are designed by Adriana Wilson. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are expressly their own and not representative of their employers or associates. Accupolitics is part of the MuggleNet family of podcasts.